that's what's more fun for me.
I spent most of my life as an actor.
Robert Duvall is true old Hollywood. His name is synonymous with Hoffman, Hackman, Coppola, and of course that coveted little gold man, the Oscar. And yet Duvall has always been considered a late bloomer in Hollywood. Prior to his acclaimed film debut at 31 as Arthur Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird, he performed on Broadway when they let him and spent the rest of his time causing trouble in New York City with mates Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman. Duvall's sensitive portrayal of Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird was hailed by critics as a stunning debut and showed them the gift he has for completely immersing himself in his characters. With his intense expressions and chiselled features, Duvall frequently played troubled, lonely characters during his early film career. Duvall delivered another iconic performance in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. Masterfully underplayed, yet powerfully effective, Duvall's character would be fleshed out significantly in The Godfather Part 2. Naturally, when Paramount greenlit The Godfather Part 3 some 16 years later, Duvall was expected to participate. However, he and the studio were unable to come to terms over salary, and Duvall's character was dropped from the final script. Professionally speaking, Robert Duvall truly came into his own as an actor towards the late 1970s and early 80s. Coppola again cast Duvall in his epic war drama Apocalypse Now, and despite his role being relatively small, he delivered one of modern cinema's most iconic lines: "I love the smell of napalm in the morning, smells like victory." However, it was not until the Oscar-winning Tender Mercies that the actor's talents would formally be recognised. Duvall wrote and performed his own songs in the film and delivered a career performance as a faded country singer, which earned him the Best Actor Oscar for his efforts. While the 80s delivered some of Robert Duvall's finest work, the 90s were a bit of a mixed bag, artistically speaking. Settling into an increasingly familiar role, Duvall was introduced to a new generation of audience as the mentor cum father figure. He breezed through a series of high-budget movies, playing broad variations of the same character, an example being the big-budget apocalyptic juggernaut Deep Impact, which was a whole new experience for Duvall.
I never saw anything like that. The whole soundstage is the comet. It's unbelievable.
You know, Bob Duvall is one of the greatest living actors. You know, from The Godfather to The Apostle, he's extraordinary, and his work is extraordinary and subtle, and he's quite special.
While none of these big-budget films offered much in the way of a challenge, it afforded Duvall lifelong financial security. Par for the course, Duvall's presence actually elevated some of these films to undeserved heights. His performance as a slick corporate legal counsellor in the So-So a Civil Action earned the film its highest notices. Duvall is a true artist, an avid writer and keen director, and by 1997 he had been working on getting a pet project off the ground for over a decade, the tale of a fallen preacher in The Apostle. Duvall wrote and directed the film and took the lead role. Boasting fine supporting performances from Farrah Fawcett, Miranda Richardson and Billy Bob Thornton, The Apostle was a huge critical hit and earned Duvall yet another Best Actor Oscar nomination. Duvall's output remained prolific as he entered the noughties, and his influence again was seen in such films like Gone in 60 Seconds, with the likes of Christopher Eccleston signing on for a role.
I'd do anything to be in a film with Robert Duvall.
That sentiment was echoed by the cast of John Q, the thought-provoking drama starring Denzel Washington. Duvall added his distinctive gravitas to his role as a police negotiator.
What attracted me to the project was Nick Cassavetes, to work with him. I like the script a lot. I think it definitely has something to say. And the real reason next to Nick is all my scenes are with Robert Duvall, and he's been one of my favorites forever. So to work with him, and you know, my 4 or 5 scenes are with him is just, I mean, it's just a dream come true.
He took on duties as the legendary General Robert E. Lee's in Gods and Generals, and Kevin Costner wrote the co-starring role in his western Open Range, especially for Duvall. The film also starred Annette Bening, who positively gushed about working with Duvall.
With Robert Duvall, he's a great actor. He's one of the greatest American actors alive. And there is a beauty to what he does because it's so true and it's so simple. I loved watching him when I was working with him. I watched him carefully because I felt I could really learn from him. He's a great guy, too. I mean, he's just a delightful man and smart and interested in many, many different things. And he makes his own movies. And, you know, he's a man who's comfortable in many different genres when you think about the films that he's been in and the great movies that he's been in. His experience is so wide.
Continuing his work behind the camera, Duvall was able to incorporate his lifelong passion for the tango in Assassination Tango. His fourth wife, Argentinian Luciana Pedreza, who incidentally is 41 years younger than Duvall, came up to him on the street with the line, "I hear you like to tango." And Duvall, then 65, took her home with him. The couple have a dance barn on their farm and regularly spend their evening dancing. Who knew? But anyway, back to the acting. Robert Duvall continued to put in finely etched performances in quality productions throughout the noughties. He called upon his estimable comic chops to play opposite Will Ferrell in Kicking and Screaming. He played a tobacco millionaire dying of lung cancer in Thank You for Smoking, and he won his first Emmy for his sensitive portrayal of an aging cowboy in Broken Trail. He then took a small but devastating turn in the film adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's bleak post-apocalyptic book, The Road, and earned the highest of praise from the film's leading man, actor's actor Viggo Mortensen.
Got to work with Robert Duvall. That in itself is like a beautiful little movie.
That same year, Robert Duvall delivered another couple of stellar performances. The first in Get Low. Starring alongside Bill Murray, his portrayal of a stubborn hermit earned him a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for Best Actor. The second was his quiet, eloquent performance as a concerned friend trying to steer Jeff Bridges' washed-up country singer towards the path of redemption in the critically lauded Crazy Heart. Duvall also took on producing duties and was part of the reason the film was able to be made in the first place.
Bob Duvall, my God, what a great, you know, he's the kind of the father of the whole thing. He brought us all together. He's the, you know, the producer on this, and his company's producing it, and he's also acting in it. So I got to work with one of my favorite actors.
After I wrote the screenplay and I sent it to Mr. Duvall, who's always my litmus test because he's just, you know, America's finest actor in my opinion, and a guy that I admire immensely. And he loved it. And of course, when you send a script like this, knowing that he won an Oscar for Tender Mercies, you think, oh my God, I hope he likes it. And he loved it. And he said, let's make it. Robert Duvall's portrayal of Wayne Kramer is more than I could have ever hoped. He's the moral compass. He's the character, the man who helps Bad Blake through all of his trials and tribulations, who's a friend, who's a mentor, who's always there for him when no one else is, when his son isn't there, when his ex-wives aren't there, when his girlfriend isn't there. Wayne Kramer is always there. Robert Duvall plays that rock beautifully. And the chemistry between Robert Duvall and Jeff Bridges is more than I could have ever hoped. They elevate the scenes in a way in which I could never have dreamed of.
Now in his 80s, Robert Duvall is unstoppable. He once claimed that becoming a star is an agent's dream, not an actor's. And in this time of reality TV and fast fame for nothing, he is one of the last greats of the old school. Robert Duvall is a true Hollywood veteran. Stay tuned to Star Picks for all the movies you know and the actors you love, broadcast in high definition with 5.1 surround sound where available. For more of the best in entertainment news, check out your Movie Network channels. Find or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and MNC.TV.